A billionaire walked into the diner, but when his wallet fell open, something inside made Lily's blood run cold. A photograph of her mother. Her mom had been a simple, black woman who lived a humble life, raising Lily on her own. There had never been any sign that her mom was connected to wealth or power. So, why on earth was her picture in the wallet of a wealthy white billionaire? Stick around to uncover the truth that turned her world upside down. And hey, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. The late shift at the diner dragged on. Outside, the neon sign buzzed faintly, barely breaking the stillness of the night. Lily Thompson wiped down the counter, tired but relieved that the end of her shift was near. Just then, the bell above the door chimed. She glanced up, expecting another local or a tired traveler looking for a late-night coffee. But instead, a sharply dressed man walked in, his presence almost commanding. The suit he wore was likely worth more than her rent for the entire year. He moved like someone who was used to owning every room he stepped into, his confidence quiet but undeniable. Lily watched him slide into a booth by the window, his eyes focused on the city outside. When she approached to take his order, he didn't even glance at the menu. "Black coffee," he said, his voice low and firm. She nodded, scribbling it down. When she returned with the coffee, he barely acknowledged her, just staring out the window. Used to customers like him, Lily didn't take it personally. But when he reached for his wallet to pay, something fell out, a photograph. It fluttered to the floor, face up. Lily's heart skipped a beat. She recognized that face. The familiar, warm smile. The kind eyes. It was her mother. For a moment, all she could do was stare, her heartbeat thumping loudly in her ears. Then, before she could stop herself, she bent down and picked up the photo. "Where did you get this?" Her voice came out ragged, barely above a whisper. The man's gaze snapped up, locking onto hers. For the first time, he really looked at her. Lily turned the photograph toward him, gripping it tightly in her hand. "Why do you have a picture of my mother?" His face flickered with something, regret maybe, but it was gone in an instant. He quickly reached for the photo, his fingers brushing against hers as he took it from her. "You must be mistaken," he said, tucking it back into his wallet like it was nothing. Lily's stomach twisted. She knew exactly what she had seen. Her mother had kept a nearly identical photograph in a little memory box back at home. She knew every detail of it by heart. This wasn't a mistake. "I'm not mistaken," Lily said firmly. "Why do you have it?" The man exhaled sharply and adjusted the cuff of his expensive suit. "I don't owe you an explanation," he said coldly. Before Lily could respond, he stood, dropped a crisp $100 bill on the counter, and headed toward the door. Panic surged through her chest. He was leaving. This might be her only chance to find out the truth. Lily rushed out from behind the counter, nearly knocking over a tray in her haste. "Wait." But he didn't stop. He was already walking toward a sleek black car parked on the curb, the driver stepping out to open the door. Her heart raced. "Please, just tell me how you knew her." For a moment, he paused, his hand resting on the car door. Lily hoped he might say something, anything. But instead, he turned just enough to meet her gaze. His stare was cool, detached. Then, in a voice that was devoid of any feeling, he said, "Forget this." He climbed into the car, the doors slammed shut, and the engine roared to life. Before Lily could take another step, the car sped off into the night. Frozen on the sidewalk, Lily could hardly catch her breath. A billionaire had just walked into her life and left her with more questions than answers. Who was he? Why did he have a photograph of her mother? She wasn't going to let this go. She had to find out the truth. That night, Lily didn't sleep. She sat at her small kitchen table, her laptop open, scouring the web for any clue about the man from the diner. She didn't know his name, had no business card, no receipt, just his face, his voice, and the way he had looked at her like she was nothing more than an inconvenience. But that photograph changed everything. She started by searching for names of wealthy tycoons, real estate moguls, and CEOs. A flood of names appeared on her screen, but none of them matched his face. Frustration set in as the hours passed, but then, just as she was about to give up, she saw it. Adam Peterson, CEO of Peterson Global Enterprises. a billionaire real estate mogul with a vast empire, tied to luxury properties and major deals. Lily clicked on his picture, her breath catching. It was him. She clicked through article after article, but nothing connected him to her mother. No past relationships, no family ties, nothing. It was clear now. He had erased her. Lily clenched her fists. He had walked into that diner, held her mother's picture, and acted as if Margaret Thompson meant nothing. That thought boiled her blood. She wasn't backing down. She needed answers, and she knew exactly where to start. The next morning, Lily caught the first bus downtown. Her heart raced as she stepped off in front of a massive glass skyscraper, Peterson Global Enterprises. The building towered above her, a monument to wealth and power. But Lily wasn't intimidated. She walked right in and made a beeline for the reception desk. "I need to see Adam Peterson," she said, her voice steady. The receptionist barely looked up. "Do you have an appointment?" "No," Lily admitted, "but it's important." The woman sighed, unimpressed. "Mr. Peterson doesn't take walk-ins." Lily had expected this. She had no appointment, no official reason to be here. If she wanted answers, she would have to find another way in. Her eyes scanned the lobby, security guards by the elevators, employees flashing badges as they passed through the turnstiles. There was no way she was getting in the usual way. Then she spotted him, a young man in his mid-20s, carrying a coffee cup and a folder, heading toward the elevator, looking distracted. She moved quickly, stepping up beside him. "Hey," she whispered urgently, "you forgot to send me that report Mr. Peterson needed." The man blinked, startled. "What?" Lily sighed, feigning exasperation. "The report. He was expecting it this morning." Before he could respond, Lily slipped forward, moving through the turnstile just as his badge triggered the sensor. The guard barely glanced at her. She was in. Her pulse raced as she entered the elevator and pressed the button for the top floor. This was it. She was finally going to confront Adam Peterson. And this time, he wasn't getting away. The elevator doors opened to the top floor of Peterson Global Enterprises. Lily stepped out, her breath shallow, her hands clenched by her sides. The reception area looked sleek and modern, but there was something intimidating about it too. A man in a dark suit immediately approached her. "Miss, do you have an appointment?" he asked. "No," she replied, "but I need to speak to Adam Peterson. It's about my mother." The man's jaw clenched at her words. "Mr. Peterson doesn't see walk-ins," he said, his tone cold. Lily took a deep breath, her heart racing. "Tell him my mother's name was Margaret Thompson, and I won't leave until I speak to him." The man hesitated for a moment, then turned and walked down a hallway. The seconds seemed to drag on forever. Finally, a door opened. Adam Peterson stepped out. The second he saw her, something shifted in his eyes. It wasn't surprise or anger, but more like a quiet resignation. He walked toward her slowly, deliberately. After a long pause, he simply said, "Come with me." Lily followed him into his office, her heart pounding in her chest. Once the door closed behind them, she faced him head-on. "Why do you have a picture of my mother?" she asked. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached into his desk, pulled out his wallet, and placed a photograph on the table. Lily stared at the photo for a long moment. Slowly, she lifted her eyes to meet his. "You knew her," she whispered. Adam looked her straight in the eye, his face unreadable. "I didn't just know her," he finally said. "I loved her." The ground seemed to shift beneath Lily's feet. She'd come here for answers. But this? This was not what she expected. Adam leaned back against his desk, exhaling as if the words had been hard to get out. "I loved her," he repeated, his voice heavy with years of regret. "But I walked away." Lily's chest tightened. "Why?" she demanded. His jaw tightened too. "Because I was a coward." He looked down, then back at her. "My family made it clear that if I stayed with Margaret, I'd lose everything. The inheritance, the business, my place in their world." Lily felt a knot form in her stomach. "So you left her for money?" she asked, disbelief lacing her words. Adam's expression darkened. "I thought I could come back for her later, once I had secured my future. But by the time I did, she was gone." Lily's hands balled into fists. Her mother had struggled while this man had lived a life of luxury. "She never told me about you," Lily whispered. "Not once." Pain flickered in Adam's eyes. "Because she wanted to protect you from me." Lily struggled to breathe, her mind spinning as she tried to process everything. She stood up straight, locking eyes with him. "So, you left her for money?" she repeated. Adam's gaze darkened once again. "I thought I could come back for her once my life was in order. But by the time I was ready, she was gone." Lily's hands clenched tighter. Her mother had lived through hardship, while Adam had lived comfortably. "She never told me about you," Lily repeated, voice shaking. "Not once." The pain in Adam's eyes was evident. "Because she wanted to protect you." The weight of his confession hung in the air, thick and suffocating. Lily took a shaky breath, trying to process it all. She needed space, time to think. Without saying another word, she turned and walked out of his office. Later that night, she went through her mother's things, hoping to find answers Margaret had never given her. As she sifted through old letters and keepsakes, her fingers brushed against something small, a velvet pouch tucked at the bottom of a wooden box. Lily's breath caught as she pulled it out, carefully opening it. Inside was a delicate silver necklace with an engraved pendant. The word forgive, love, and begin were etched into the metal. On the back of the pendant was a faded photograph, her father. Along with it was a note, written in her mother's handwriting. "This belonged to your father. I kept it for you. One day you will understand." Her hands trembled as the truth hit her hard. Adam Peterson wasn't just some man from her mother's past. He was her father. The next morning, Lily stood outside the towering glass structure of Peterson Global Enterprises again, gripping the pendant tightly in her hand. The city bustled around her, but her mind was focused on one thing. This man was her father. She took a deep breath, then walked inside. This time, she wasn't sneaking in. She marched straight up to the receptionist's desk, her voice steady. "I need to see Adam Peterson. It's urgent." The woman barely looked at her. "As I told you before, Mr. Peterson doesn't see walk-ins." Lily slammed the pendant down onto the counter. "Then tell him his daughter is here." The receptionist hesitated, her polite demeanor cracking. She finally picked up the phone. Within moments, security guards appeared, flanking Lily. But before they could escort her out, a deep voice rang out. "Let her in." Adam stood at the end of the hall, his face unreadable. Without a word, he turned and walked toward his office. Lily followed, her pulse racing in her ears. Once inside, the door shut behind her, and the silence was deafening. Lily didn't waste time. She placed the pendant on his desk and crossed her arms. "Explain this." Adam stared at the necklace, his fingers hovering above it, but he didn't touch it. His jaw clenched, his composure slipping for the first time. "She kept it," he said, almost to himself. Lily shot back. "She didn't just keep it. She left it for me, with a note. She never told me who my father was, but this," she gestured to the pendant, "this told me everything." Adam let out a sharp breath, rubbing his temples. "I didn't know," he admitted. "If I had known she was pregnant, if I had known about you." His voice trailed off, the words clearly causing him physical pain. Lily's chest ached, but she wouldn't let sympathy cloud her anger. "But you didn't know because you left." "I searched for her," Adam said, his voice raw. "By the time I realized what I'd lost, she had disappeared. I hired investigators. No trace." Lily swallowed hard, understanding now. "She made sure I wouldn't find her." That sounded just like her mother, protecting her at all costs. But was it really protection, or had it stolen something from Lily? "She thought she was protecting me from you," Lily said slowly, testing the words as they left her lips. "She didn't think you deserved to be in my life." Adam flinched. Maybe she was right. The silence between them was heavy. For the first time, Lily saw the cracks in his armor, the regret, the sorrow, the years of wondering what could have been. "I can't change the past," Adam finally said, his voice quieter now. "But I can be here now." Lily's fingers curled around the pendant. "Forgive, love, begin." The words felt heavy in her hand. "I don't know if I can forgive you," she said, her voice barely a whisper. Adam nodded solemnly. "Not yet." Lily took a shaky breath, her mind spinning with emotions, questions, and uncertainty. But one thing was clear, she wasn't walking away. Not yet. For the first time, she was willing to listen. For what felt like forever, neither of them said a word. The silence between them hung in the air, delicate, like it could break apart with the slightest touch. After a moment, Lily reached for the necklace sitting on the desk and fastened it around her neck. Her mother had left it for a reason. Maybe it wasn't just about Adam, it could be about Lily, about giving her the choice her mother never had. Adam's gaze briefly shifted to the pendant, his breath catching in his throat. She really never stopped thinking about me, did she? Lily's heart tightened as she realized she never stopped protecting me. With a small nod, Adam seemed to understand. I'm not asking for your forgiveness today or tomorrow, he said quietly. But if you ever want to get to know me, not as Adam Peterson, but just as a man who made a terrible mistake, I'll be here. Lily studied him, her eyes searching for any sign of deceit or arrogance. There was nothing, just regret, just a man who'd been haunted by a choice he couldn't undo. She stepped back, her fingers brushing the pendant once more. I don't know what comes next, she admitted, her voice soft. Adam's lips tugged into a faint, almost sorrowful smile. Neither do I, but maybe that's okay. Lily gave a small nod. With one final glance at him, she turned and made her way to the door. She wasn't rushing, wasn't storming off, just leaving, on her own terms. She wasn't ready to call him her father yet, but she wasn't slamming the door shut either. Maybe some things weren't meant to be rewritten, but maybe, just maybe, they could be rewritten together. As she reached the door, each step felt heavier than the last, as if she carried not just her own pain, but the weight of all those lost years. She paused for a split second, but didn't look back. Not because she didn't care, but because some wounds weren't meant to heal in a single moment. She walked away, not to erase the past, but to figure out if she was ready to reshape her future. She wasn't ready to call him her father, but she wasn't closing the door on him either. Some things might not be meant to be rewritten, but maybe, just maybe, they could start over together. Lily's story shows that the past doesn't have to dictate the future. Sometimes healing isn't about forgetting. It's about choosing what comes next. What do you think Lily should do? Should she let Adam fully back into her life and give him a chance to be the father she never had? Or is it better to keep her distance and move on without him? Can love and regret truly heal old wounds? Or are some scars too deep to heal? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your take on what the best ending for this story might be. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another powerful story. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.